I used to consider myself a libertarian Republican until it was thrown in my face that libertarianism is both racist and bigoted. Let me explain. I used to work for one of the most libertarian members of Congress, at least self-prescribed, and that is Dana Rohrabacher. Dana was one of the founding members of YAF, Young Americans for Freedom, a libertarian group that supported Ronald Reagan when he was governor of California. After I worked for Dana, I went to work for the Realtors as a local government affairs director. At the time of this story, President Trump and Republicans were trying to push their tax cut for billionaires. For the Realtors, this fight was all about SALT, the state and local tax deduction. The proposal was, which ended up happening, to cap SALT at $10,000, which would significantly hurt people in blue states. Long story short, we were actually able to convince Dana to vote against this legislation, against the will of President Trump, and we consider this a huge victory, even though the legislation would go on to pass anyway. Now, before the legislation passed, but after Dana had committed to vote no, the Realtors had an annual meeting with him. This is something that was regularly scheduled in his DC office. And our plan was to thank him for his support in opposing the cap on SALT. But we had one more thing to bring to his attention, and this is one of those many events that was a big mark in my political transformation. We were trying to get federal fair housing legislation passed to protect the LGBT community. They were protected by California state law, but not federal. Coming into the meeting, I thought this would be a no-brainer for Dana. After all, he was a libertarian. He wanted everyone to live however they wanted, right? Well, yes and no. Now, to make the whole thing worse, the realtor who happened to bring this to his attention to try and get his support was gay. Now, after this person presented it to Dana, Dana got visibly uncomfortable. And he said to us, well, I think that everyone should be able to do what they want, but I also think that property owners should be able to do what they want with their property. I was floored, completely shocked, and so I decided to chime in. I said, well, what about the freedom of the home buyers and the fact that this is already the law in California, so it wouldn't affect any of his constituents? But that wasn't enough. He wouldn't support the legislation. After the meeting, that realtor who presented rightfully went to the media. And I was on the phone with media outlets for the rest of the day. And of course, the congressman lost any support from the realtors that he had. See, libertarianism was born from two primary places. The first is an anti-communist sentiment, as Ayn Rand was Russian and a capitalist. And the second is from the South, for those property owners to be able to carry out all of their racist ambitions. A lot of young men especially are attracted to libertarianism because of its simplicity and carefree nature. But it's much more sinister than that. It's an ideology that aimed to protect the rights of rich white people.